Good evening. Namaste. Hi everyone. How are you again?
Good
Good
evening,
evening,
sir.
sir.
How are you, sir?
How are you, sir?
How is Goa, Nikita? Super, super duper. Okay. But definitely not as good when I was in Goa, no? Because that how was different, isn't it? Okay, right. So for the benefit of our friends who are not writing the exam, these are the activities which are piled up. So many activities. Those who are writing exam, relax and chill. Go ahead with the exams. Yes. So let us straight away get into the session. Recently, we had one session about IBS also. That also has to be shared, Chandan, that you along with
Yes, sir.
today's session. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. So I welcome each one of you to the beautiful and conclusive session of my favorite subject now, because this is a subject which enlightens me also with lot of extra knowledge. So something which I had never touched in my life. So it makes me to touch, because to understand one question, I should have a knowledge about so many other topics. Beautiful subject. And also, this was something which I was always wondering for several years. I learn income tax, I learn accounts, I learn costing, but how do I apply together? So this is how CA Institute has taught beautifully IBS. So be happy for the subject, be happy about the subject, and be happy for the exam. You have done the hard work till date. Now let your confidence carry you through this exam, September exam, January exam, doesn't matter. So it will be handled by SMS sir and his sir. Okay, so this will be the session. Okay. Right. The last step, one more paper. You're closer than ever to finish the line. Trust your preparation, write the with the clarity and finish strong. Very, very important. So recently, when I was listening to some amazing speeches of Ajit Doval or maybe the defense minister or Modi ji, so one of the reasons why India was not able to do something, because we were not able to portray ourselves strong. Now we have become very strong. Okay, so it's not that we are not, but we are not portray ourselves strong. So now you portray yourself strong. So your strength is very important, even in the examination. Finish strong. That is extremely crucial. This paper won't define you. It will crown your commitment with the alphabet CA. Beautiful quotation. Thanks to the team, Chandan and team. Thank you. This is exactly, we have already done a similar session earlier, but R2R I didn't want to discuss too much different. So let's keep it for 1.5 hours, because the session itself, exam itself is for 4 hours, isn't it? Okay. So yes, read Uma louder.
Important points. The question paper comprises 5 case studies of 25 marks each, out of which 4 should be attempted.
So one more reason why this paper is easy. Unlike any other paper from foundation to final, where first question compulsory and 4 from the rest. Here, anyone you can take it. So 5 will be given, whichever you like, you want. Okay. You need not be first question. So here I cannot say, don't see the first question first. Whichever question you want to leave, you can leave. Adu depends on which is the subject you are not comfortable with and the marks allotted. For example, DT you are comfortable, FR you are comfortable. So FEMA I am not comfortable. That may be only for 2 marks till you attempt. Okay. Whereas FEMA is for 5 marks, FCRA for 5 marks. If you are not comfortable with those subjects, then other subject which can fetch you more. In today's class, I am not going to teach you any subject as such. How you have to apply your mind in the exam, that is more important. So 25 marks may 2 to 3 marks to pakka chhoot jayega, unless the same question, same case study comes possible. So out of 5 case studies, 2 or 3, maybe if I worked out around 50 plus case studies, it may repeat. But otherwise, 2 to 3 marks, though, it's okay, because this paper, if you're leaving even 5 questions into 3, 85 is wow. Okay. And this is the paper where you must score high. You must score high. Easy. Yes, madam. And it is 25 marks question paper, and 4 should be attempted, and
40% MCQs in each question.
this is the trend, and CH also has clarified. So unlike 30% MCQ, here every question will have 10 mark MCQs. So 5 into 2 normally 10 marks. Next.
Each case study will have questions related to all the 5 plus 2 subjects of CA final.
I hope you know the subjects, so I don't have to mention. So, but more relevant is the second group. That's the reason why they have rightly placed the last subject in the second group. DT, if there is no question related to DT in the 5 case studies, it's impossible to imagine. At least out of 5 case studies, 2 to 3 DT hoga, another 2 3 IDT hoga. Then law will be there at least in 1 or 2. Law may be different kind of law. FR also will be there in 1 or 2. AFM will be there in 1. Auditing will be there in 1 or 2. So SCMP, costing, variance analysis, marginal costing will be there. Next.
Don't think this as additional subject. Rather, it will be like writing the exams of all the subjects in one day. Open book exam, time given 4 hours.
So open book exam and the general exam, the approach cannot be different. Okay. So this is what the transformation which I was expecting to do when I started teaching CPT, where 100 marks account CPT nalli, I have to teach 100% in MCQ math accounts. How do I teach consignment account for MCQ? That was the big question for me. But anyhow, I stick to the basics. Only difference I did was I taught the concept, same jeans pant, same Sonali Bendre, no change. But only thing is, instead of doing 10 questions of consignment, I did 1 or 2 questions for conceptual clarity. And then Aarti madam came. Okay. So 2 questions I should have done and then started solving MCQ question. So here also, open book exam or the normal exam, no difference. Approach is same. So you be there by 145, everything falls same. And carry reasonable number of books. Illi carry marko nimman matte exam algumle carry agbaardu. That should not be. You have carried a gunny bag, then nimman etkondu barak if you trolley bekagutade, should not be the case. So probably the second group, all the subjects, 200, all subjects 200 marks book you can carry. That's the best one which you may have some important data. IBS, you would have definitely made your own, material, CAPS material. Then Income Act, if you want, you can carry. Income Act and small pocket edition, compel law if you have. That compel law also you can carry. But you cannot carry too many. Because at the end of the day, judge should know the law. Judge need not know the law, but we should know where the law is. This is the point. Open book exam, sir, I will only open karke udhar. Not possible. Okay, fine. Yes. So in the question paper, okay, this is what the gist, thanks to the brilliant genius SMS sir also, and even our Chandan and team, okay, which is more or less, okay. So it is the same pattern is followed everywhere. Okay. Yes, madam.
Normally, first 2 paragraphs will be stories.
But still you should know. It's say Uma, the chartered accountant in Jabalpur anta. So now who is giving a consultancy? Atava, the industrialist. So you just look at it. But normal story. 1 or 2 sentences, you read stories. Next.
Normally, lengthy case studies will be easier and vice versa.
It is a very common phenomenon for all subjects, not just for IBS. Next.
Focus on DT, IDT, company law, FR.
This out of 125 marks, this itself should cover at least around 50 to 60 marks minimum. Next.
Focus on such topics which are interlinked in 2 or 3 subjects. For example, agriculture, Ind AS 41 and Section 10(1)(2)(1)(a) of Income Tax Act.
And Section 33AB, other than that one. So 33AB, that also is there. Okay, so they're all related topics. Whenever they're related, or subsidy related, for example, Nagaraj. So subsidy bandaga, 43(1) of the Income Act says cost minus. Then we have a government grant related project. Ind AS 41. So wherever there is an interlink clause, DT and IDT going together, I purchased the machinery. Sir, input credit togobeka, depreciation claim order. So all these things interlinked, which more or less would have covered in almost every class. Next.
Loan to directors, Section 185 of Companies Act and 222E of IT Act.
So asset side of the balance sheet, if you look at the asset side, loan given to a director. Director is not relevant, but what is normally mentioned is loan to director, Sneha. Whether director is a shareholder, holding 10% or more. So loan to director, your Companies Act has got its own provision. Then 222E says, if you are given loan to a person having 10% or more, Parati, very good. So it will be considered as a deemed dividend. This is the asset side. Liability side, loan taken. So accepting loan at a deposit, recent regular class, 269 SS and T, other related provision. Company law related provision. what will be the penalty provision? Somewhere if it's interconnected, probably you can get into that. Next.
Write and practice.
When the examination also, make a gist of each case study, whatever, like any other paper, no other except only thing is while writing, probably somewhere you can copy the answers from somewhere. If they ask to reproduce, otherwise use your own language and write. Next.
Carry minimum number of books to the exam center.
Cranky tara, ಒಂದು ಗನ್ನಿ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗೋದಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಸರ್ 3 to 4 books I think should be suffice. In my opinion, 200 pages book of all subjects. IBS is separate ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. IBS material, obvious IBS material you have to carry. And act if you think you can read the act accordingly. If you cannot act, don't act. Next.
When you master other 7 subjects, especially DT, IDT, and law, you can master this subject as well. Some practical questions are lifted as it is from other 5+2 subjects.
So this has been observed by me regularly. So many of the questions are lifted. Even today, one case Nandan has given me. That is the question of international taxation poem computation. It is already there in your international taxation notes. It was a question paper. So they'll just put bits and pieces of different question and copy paste. Comfort. Anganta, every question will irodilla. One question may be totally irrelevant, which you skip it. Totally irrelevant, you skip it because one question you may not be able to know it. Skip it. But skipping is least known answer. Illi time consuming anta barodu very rare because 4 hours they will be giving you almost 45 minutes per subject. One question I am giving you. So time should not be constrained. If any question which features me least mark. Sir, income tax question is shuru madade. Adu 2 mark barbodu. Other 23 marks is waste. So which fetches you reasonably good mark, that should be the way. Next. Unnamalai. Next.
Practice all case studies given by ICAI.
Whatever you can, next 1.5 days you have, you can do it. Yes, then we have subjects which you have discussed in the recent one of the IBS session ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ. So each India's number ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲಿ with the title. Whenever you are mentioning the answer, number with title. 101. Okay, so first time adoption of India's reserves ಅನ್ನು adjust ಮಾಡೋದು. Share based payment, equity ಅಥವಾ cash settled. So goodwill, business combination ಅಲ್ಲಿ either we normally go by acquisition method. Goodwill, whereas common control transaction positive or negative capital reserve only. Control, extremely very good updation. So control, okay, power variable return link, that should be known. Deferred consideration is an important again. So ಇದು ಬರ್ಬೋದು ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ IBS ಅಲ್ಲಿ business amalgamation ಯಾವ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿ? Amalgamation accounts ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಅಥವಾ business combination. Auditing ಅಲ್ಲಿ whenever the amalgamation happens, before that you should do the due diligence. ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Corporate law compel law, I don't know the recent 2013 act. Otherwise HARA, compromise arrangement reconstruction amalgamation 391 to 394 of the 1956 act. ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರು 2013 act ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾ? ನಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ನನಗೆ ಹೇಳಿ. ಅದು ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ, amalgamation ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. Okay, so what are the provisions? Dissenting shareholders 10% or more, ಅದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ. Next, DT amalgamation 2 within bracket 1B read with the section 47 which doesn't lead to transfer, section 72A, 72AA, 72AB. Then all the related provisions of the same. IDT amalgamation, the GST impact when there is a merger, etc. Every subject will be covered. Costing. So when you merge and do it, what is the cost indifference point? So when you do it independently, what is the cost indifference point? Or the margin costing, they can ask. So every subject is interconnected to amalgamation. So it's of external. Deferred consideration is at present value, contingent consideration, initial at fair value, subsequently equity other no remeasurement, debt other you should remeasure. Right. Next 105, non-current asset held for sale. There is nothing but a fixed asset, setting asset, carrying amount of fair value, which is less sale. Next 107, disclosure purpose. So 109 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ financial instruments. Financial instrument, an asset of one entity being liability of other entity. Okay. So equity share capital, yes, it can be a financial instrument. Building cannot be financial instrument. Then 108, excellent again. So 10% criteria, 35% external revenue criteria, and CODM and management choice. Okay, management choice perfectly. CODM is one separate function asset. It is the management choice. Right. Next. So 110 again 6+2. So consolidation ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಅದನ್ನ ನಮಗೆ go through ಮಾಡಿ. Right. Next 111, joint arrangement and joint venture are two different concepts here. When you write over individual asset and liability, it is called joint of arrangement. That is section 111. Proportional consolidation. When you stake in net assets, ಎರಡು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಹೊಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು 4 ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಹೊಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು ನೆಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೆ
Total equity.
Total equity, sir.
Total equity.
You last
Total
breath
equity.
of you when you are with me, you cannot miss. Last breath till you are with me. ಮತ್ತೆ I don't know who you are. You may not know who am I. Doesn't matter. Till sorry, the IBS ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನೆಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು.
Total equity.
Total equity. ಆಂಟಿ ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಂದು ಲೇಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. So that is nothing but equity method. Equity method has to be followed. Disclosure 113. So fair value measurement. Okay, brilliant again. I'm so happy for this presentation. So the 3 fair value ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. Arm's length price again. ನಿಮ್ಮ 92A. Fair value is about water. Arm's length price. Arm's length price is 92C of the Income Tax Act. So associated enterprise transaction. Specified domestic transaction SDT 20 more than 20 crore. International transaction 1 rupee also. If it attracts transfer pricing, you should go with the transfer pricing audited. Due date ಕೇಳಬಹುದು 139(1). So 30th November, 31st October, 31st July. Whereas 1 month before for the first 2 cases is the specified date. ಅದು ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. And spouse of section 5A. 5A is about Portuguese civil code or ಕೇಳಲ್ಲ code ಏನು ಕೇಳೋ correct ಆಗಿದೆ. So Ganda is covered with the tax auditor, Enda is automatically covered. Understood? Nikita? Understood. Yes. So next. So if identical level 1 inputs, if similar level 2, unobservable andre totally different. Right. 115, Cooper condition satisfied, risk and return. Okay. Then 116, lesser book even today that the operating lease finance lease concept. So Subiksha is getting married next week, 23rd. Okay. Alone marriage alva. Shamiana she wants. So that is the operating lease, lesser book. Whereas after marriage, she has to go to Ooty. She requires a car. Sundaram Motors, she takes a car on lease. Then she will not come back. She will be settling there only. Alone, Subiksha, go alone. 50% cost will be saved. So let's see book. There is only one concept called ROUA. Adu barbodu, important. Next, 117 is again insurance, which is not effective. So India's 1, basically schedule 3 go through money. Schedule 3 year, again, division 1, division 2, both you should know. Division 1 is non-India's companies, Chota Mota companies, companies accounting standard, companies within the bracket accounting standard rules of 2006. Whereas schedule 2 is your syllabus of CFL. India's companies starts with the assets on the top, equity liabilities down. Whereas division 1 only, RT on the top, husband down. Correct or auntie?
Yes, sir.
Right. Next. India's 2, cost or NR, whichever less. India's 7 is about cash flow statement, operating, investing, financing. Again, illu cash flow ಬಗ್ಗೆ accounts allu barbodu, AFM allu barbodu. Cash flow after tax. So basically PB, PAT BD, profit after tax before depreciation. That's called PAT BD. How it has an impact. Then India's 8, accounting policy change, always retrospective. Accounting estimate change, prospective. But fixed assets, tangible or intangible, it is always prospective changes. Depreciation again, SLM, WDV, and what you call units of production method is suggested in India 16. Next, AS10, India's 10 adjusting events. Adjusting events, you have to always go back and do 31st March entry. Non-adjusting, management report will probably disclose. Taxes on taxes, accounting with the income difference. Then what is the difference? Carrying amount as per books of account and tax base difference. You have to identify permanent as identify the exclude and temporary as deductible and taxable. Create detail accordingly. Next, PPE with depreciation. Then 19 is employee benefit. Short term and termination immediately accounted. Long term and post retirement defined contribution, PF, ESI, etc. Normal salary account defined benefit scheme. This is one 2 marks barbodu. Actuarial valuation. Parati, you are supposed to go for actuarial valuation. 7 plus Saptabadi steps. India's 41 agriculture related government grant comes there. Other than that, it comes under India's 20. Under India's, it is only income approach. There is no capital approach. 21 functional currency is the currency in which the economic environment, selling price is the main determinant. What are the factors which determines the functional currency? Anything other than F is called F. F and F foreign currency. In between presentation currency. So if you are not presenting your financials under functional currency, then you have to report what is the presentation currency in which you are reporting. So foreign currency is other than functional currency. Foreign currency is other than presentation currency. F and F. I hope you understand. Furniture and fixtures. Next, 23 is the borrowing cost incidental to qualifying asset till it's ready to use. It has to be capitalized. After that, charge to P&L. Related party disclosure, if it's a control based, this can also be again important in IBS. Holding subsidiary, control based. Whether there is a transaction or not, you disclose. Whereas a subsequent significant influence, only when there is a transaction issue, disclose. Otherwise, there is no. So, JASH, joint venture, associate, subsidiary, and holding company leads to India's 24. Next, 27, separate financial statements, schedule 3 mainly are discussing. 28, associate equity method, or joint venture, which is the equity method again. Then 33, how do you present the EPS at the end of the financial P&L? Basic EPS and diluted EPS. India Sadri, you should also show under continued, discontinued, and continuing and discontinued. Even negative EPS has to be shown. It is a parameter for parameter of performance. Extremely important. PE. So again, in my FM accounts integrated. PE is equal to market price by EPS. So PE into EPS is equal to market price. So higher the EPS in FM, higher the market price. Wealth maximization objective of AFM. Next, 34, financial IFR less than a year. Condensed structures, both the complete condensed is what is suggested. India 36, again important in IBS. CARA. What's CARA? Carrying amount is greater than recoverable amount. Then CA minus RA charged to P&L account. So, if you're going for CGU, first goodwill. Once you write off goodwill, there is no question of reversing the goodwill. 37, OA in number liability. Liability is an obligation. So, outflow of resource, outflow of economic resources. Idanna you have to disclose, account model to P&L account to concern provision. Contingent liability disclose and contingent asset normally we may not. 38, intangible asset, ditto 16, identifiable and non-monetary. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ amortization ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. AS 26 ಅಲ್ಲಿ if life is unascertainable, amortize over ರೂಪ 10 years. ಇಲ್ಲಿ impairment test ಮಾತ್ರ amortization concept ಇಲ್ಲ. 40, investment property, land, building or both. UMA, chart accountant for office is PP. UMA, real estate Gundi, it is a inventory. So UMA, surplus funds if she invests somewhere, that is called investment property. Only cost model, no revaluation, only disclose the same. Depreciation is there. Agriculture, all the biological asset, etc., or transformation, fair value less cost is set. Next. So, professional ethics also go through important auditing. First schedule and second schedule. First schedule basically is little lower mistake, huge mistake. If you have done something directly with the profession, second schedule. Auditing directly, all SCS are connected to second schedule. FIRST ಅಂತ ಬರಬೇಕು ರೋಮನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದಟ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಪ್ಪ ಎಸ್ ಅಕ್ಕಪ್ಪ ಸ್ಪಾ ಅದು ಗೋತ್ರು ಮಾಡಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಗೋತ್ರು ಮಾಡಿ ಸೇಮ್ ವೇ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ರೈಟ್ ದೆನ್ ಅಕೌಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಕ್ಲೌಡ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟಿಂಗ್ ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎನ್ ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ ಯುವರ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಎಟ್ಸೆಟ್ರಾ ಇಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ AFM ಸೊ ಗೋ ಥ್ರೂ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತುಂಬಾ ಡಿಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗೋದು ಬೇಡ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ದೆನ್ ಅದರ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ like what is it? Auditing again, go through some company alternate provisions. So professional ethics go through Madi because company can be interconnected. Then company law again, all direct related provisions extremely important. Go through Madi. If there is a misappropriation, operation and mismanagement related provision, amalgamation provision, go through Madi. DT, IDT, recent last Taitala, DT the R2R, IDT the RTR, adanne go through Madi. I will not be repeating the same. Then SCMP costing will be present start ಆಗಬೇಕು ಇಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಓಕೆ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದು ಹೈಲೈಟ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು ಅಮೆಂಡ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಗೋ ಥ್ರೂ ಮಾಡಿ ಇದು DT ರಿವಿಷನ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಇದ್ದು ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಓಕೆ GST ಸರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಡೀಲಿಂಗ್ ಇದು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ So SCMP ಅಲ್ಲಿ I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Uma, thank you.
Sorry, I'm able to hear. You're able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Some network issue. Zoom. Right. So, ಇಲ್ಲಿ important is marginal costing. Every formula you should know. Marginal cost is variable cost. Variable cost is equal to direct material, direct labor, direct expenses plus variable overheads. Cost sheet on go through ಮಾಡಿ. Important. Then marginal costing formula S minus V is equal to C. Contribution is equal to F plus P. PV ratio is Chandrasekhar Shetty. Sorry. Contribution by selling price. Okay. Or change in contribution by change in selling price, etc. Margin of safety, actual sales minus BEP sales. Or profit divided by PV ratio. Next, I want to make X amount of profit. BEP formula plus X amount of profit. BEP at which contribution is equal to fixed cost. That's a total fixed cost divided by contribution per unit or total fixed cost divided by PV ratio. All formula go through. Standard costing, highly expected question. So standard costing only 2 RMRs. Revenue variances, sorry, cost variances, revenue variances. So cost variance is standard cost of standard input for actual output minus between a actual cost. Divided into basically 2 RMR. One is price related, one is volume related. Under material, labor, variable overhead, they are all same formula. Fixed overhead, slightly different formula because it remains fixed in total, varies per unit. That's the formula go through, extremely important. Revenue variances. So, sale value based or sales margin. Budgeted is the word used. Standard Suparna, Petra, cost is what. Only budgeted minus actual is the word used. Only fixed overhead variance, all the three. Budgeted is what estimated. So, fixed overhead expenditure is simple. Budgeted fixed overhead and actual fixed overhead. That's called expenditure variance. Budgeted is what is estimated. Actual is what you incurred. Hello, hi. Yeah. Standard is what what should have been the what you call the cost. That is called standard. So budgeted minus standard minus actual is called total variance. 2 RMRs. Budgeted minus actual is called expenditure. Right side is volume variance. First time. That easily you can remember. Next, cost matte revenue variance. Interpretation is opposite. Standard cost is 100 lakh. Actual cost is 80 lakh. 20 lakh you have saved. Favorable. Budgeted sales is 100 lakh. Actual sales is 80 lakh. 20 lakh is adverse. Yield variance is matra opposite of cost interpretation because yield is output related. In addition to that, there are two extra variances, extra careful, pure market related variances. There is no way connected Chandan to the cost variance. Sales contribution, market size, market share variance. So what is the impact on the economy as a whole? World, unfortunately, war aito. Other the impact on the economy as a whole is market size variance. So now impact of the same on my share. I am TCS. My share is in the software industry 20%. What is that? The formula go through highly expected. One more is cost variance only. Planning variances that are uncontrollable. This is high the IBS only. Planning control variances which are controllable. So operational variances. I'm sorry. Planning variances which are uncontrollable. Suddenly, June to September, normally, it is a rainy season in Mangalore. For some reason, it didn't happen. So, climate condition changed, planning changed. They are not within my control. So, planning variances are normally not within my control. Same way, price variances are also normally not within our control. Whereas operating variance, 2 meter cloth I should have used. My new tailor, Gube, he has used 3 meter. It is within my control. Operating variances are nothing but normal variances. Artha extra variance sales market size matte market share matte planning variances which are deemed uncontrollable, operating variances which are deemed controllable. Again, Just before going day after tomorrow, you can listen to this session and go. ಇಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಮ್ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಡೆ ಅನಾಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ರೈಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್. ನಾರ್ಮಲಿ ಕಾಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಹೂ ಆರ್ ಯು ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ಎ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್? ವಿ ಚಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಇನ್ ಎ ಸಜೆಸ್ಟಿವ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ. ವಿ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಜೆಸ್ಟೆಡ್ that you can go by this method. Then ultimately non-finance consideration will also have an impact. So Mangalore and Bangalore factory. So Mangalore gives me 10 lakh profit. Bangalore gives me 10 lakh 10,000 profit. I may still go with Bangalore because of my emotional factor, my sentimental factor. So non-financial factors also will have an impact. Next, Bangalore always there is a health issue. Mangalore there may not be a health issue. So even if the profit is lesser, I may think about it. Cost of living in Bangalore is higher. Here is the, so quality. ಅಥವಾ if you're talking about a costing ಅಲ್ಲಿ make or buy decision. Whether when you're talking about a watch ತೋರಿಸಿ ಯಾರು ಬೇಗ ಕ್ವಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಇದ್ರೆ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಯಾರು ಇಲ್ವಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರೈಟ್ ಈಗ ನಾವು if you look at the watch, now this is the component belt. So if you look at Titan etc. So belt they may be outsourcing, where other things they may be doing it. So whether they should only make or they should buy from others. Look at this. Making cost, let's say 30 rupees per belt. Buying will be 20 rupees. So you say buying, but it has got so many other non-financial considerations. So quality, outsider I cannot depend. Then I depend and I shut my belt manufacturing. After that, they suddenly make it 40 rupees. So then uninterrupted supply. So all those factors will also have an impact on my costing factors. Are you catching? Yes. So ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲೇಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಗೋ ಥ್ರೂ ಮಾಡಿ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲೆ. ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಇನ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಯಾರ್ತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಫೇಸಸ್ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಒಂದೇ ತರ ಇರ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಅದು. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಬಿಇಪಿಗೆ ಬಿಇಪಿದ್ದು ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್, ಬಿಇಪಿದ್ದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಬೈ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್. ಅದರ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್. ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಬೈ difference in variable cost per unit. Fixed cost is always in total, variable cost is normally per unit. Next, shutdown point. Shutdown point and during pandemic, whether I should temporarily shut down or continue. Avoidable fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. Almost variation. ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಬೈ ಆಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಸುಭಿಕ್ಷಾ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಹೋಗಿ ರೈಟ್. ದೆನ್ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ. Yes. Then also there are some new topics. Target costing. So exact ulta of the traditional costing I recently told. Then SPA, so strategic profitability, ABC only for overheads. Direct product profitability is used only in the retail industry. So retail industry. Then customer profitability analysis, CPA ಆಗ್ಬೇಕದು. So ನಮ್ಮ ಆಫೀಸಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲ ಚಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫೀಸಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೀಮ್ ಕ್ಲೈಂಟ್ಸ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಲೆಸ್ ರೆಮ್ಯುನರೇಷನ್ ಬರೋದನ್ನ ಸೊ ಸೀನಿಯರ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ 500 rupees ಎಲ್ಲ ಚಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವೇನ್ರ ABC is the exact opposite. That is called CPA. You have to do it for every business. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ಲಾನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಕರ್ ಬೈ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಗೇನ್. ಈಗ ನಾನು ಇದನ್ನ ಈ ಸೆಷನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ 4-5 times ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 3 months ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಮಾಡಿದ್ದನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿ ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರು ಕಿವಿ ಸೋರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ ತಾನೆ. ಇದು ಸಮ್ವೇರ್ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು 10 marks ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಬಂದ್ರು ವಿಷಯ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ರೈಟ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಕೋರ್ ಕಾರ್ಡ್. ಫ್ಲಾಪ್ ICL ಅಂತ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ IPL ಗಿಂತ ಮೊದಲು ICL ಬಂದಿತ್ತು. ಫ್ಲಾಪ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು? ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್, ಇಂಟರ್ನಲ್ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್, ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್, ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್. ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಟುಗೆದರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಯು ಗೋ. ದೆನ್ ಥಿಯರಿ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಿಂಗ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್. ಪ್ಯಾರೆಟೋ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್, ವಿಲ್ಫ್ರೆಡೋ ಪ್ಯಾರೆಟೋ ಅನ್ನೋನು 80-20 ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಈ ಸೇಸ್. ವಿಪ್ರೋದಲ್ಲಿ 80% of the product pricing will be small kanji pinji will be done by lower to middle class. 20% big software close together will be done by the top management. That's called 80-20 rule. 20% of the volume constitute 80% of the revenue. Then life cycle costing, IGMD, introduction, growth, maturity, decline. What should be the price? Classic example in the cyber cafe. Cyber cafe, the way on the last 10 years back, cyber cafe, but thanks to the technology of mobile, it has been automatically killed. Nokia, the way they came and it has been lost. So ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ what should be the pricing technology, whether you should go for penetration pricing, whether you should go for reverse pricing, etc. discuss. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ಸ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಗ್ಲಾನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ. ಎಸ್. ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಕೇಸ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಐ ನಾಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಇನ್ ಡೀಟೇಲ್. ಸೊ ಇದೊಂದು ಕೇಸ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಬಂದಾಗ, ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ರೀಡ್ ಹೂ ಇಸ್ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ದ ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟೆನ್ಸಿ, ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್. ಇಷ್ಟು ತರ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ವೈಸ್ ಕೊಡೋದು ಬಾರಿ ರೇರ್. ದೆನ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್, ಇದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ನೋಡಿದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಬೇಕು. ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಿಂಗ್, ಇದು ಪೋಯಮ್ ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಷನ್, ಇದು ಡಿಟ್ಟೋ ಕಾಪಿ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಯರ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಿಂಗ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಡಿಟ್ ಇದು ಕ್ವಶನ್, ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾಪಿ ಮಾಡೋದು. ದೆನ್ ಅನಾಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ luckily they are given point wise only, that is individual you can read. So whenever you are going to the case study, illi is a small case study with the pages together, first para you read, last para you read, go through the questions, then you come back and make a note of it. Are you getting my point? Yes. So then, so idella FEMA related, I'll not get into the answer of it because I myself, I gone through the answer, but still. So for example, FEMA related, what is applicable, etc., you should know the answer. FEMA dalli basically number of days ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇದೆ, ಗ್ಲಾನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ದೆನ್ ಇಂಪೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳೋರೆ. ಫಾರಿನ್ ಕರೆನ್ಸಿಗೆ the price fluctuation happen, ಅದು ಇಂಪೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. That will not happen to the, it is not be called impairment loss. Okay, and also foreign currency related, exchange related question ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸಲ ಕೇಳೋರೆ. Then income tax return. Okay, so how should this, ಇದು ಕಾಮನ್ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. So to reduce the tax burden for internationally flying people, what should you do? You should stay for less than 182 days. If you stay for 181 days, a basic provision, okay, 181 days, you will become a R but NOR. So it may not be taxable. Again, if it becomes non-resident, still it is better. Still it is better. Adra bagge adon question. 182 days bagge, whatever it was, the date, nodi, September 28th, 182 days calculation ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ. Then some analytical question ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ go through ಮಾಡಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ a practical question ನೋಡಿ. ಇದು ಯಾವುದು, ಇಂಡಿಯಾ 21 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ. ಸೊ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಯುವರ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನಲ್ ಕರೆನ್ಸಿ, ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಇಂಡಿಕೇಟರ್ ಮೇನ್ಲಿ ದ ಸೆಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಇಂಡಿಕೇಟರ್ಸ್. ಇದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ 21 ಇಂದ ಕಾಪಿ ಪೇಸ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, FR ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ನಾವು. ದೆನ್ ಪೋಯಮ್. ಓಕೆ, ಯಾವುದು ಪೋಯಮ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಫೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸೇಷನ್. ಸೊ ಎ ಕಂಪನಿ ಶಲ್ ಬಿ ಎಂಗೇಜ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎ ABOI. ಓಕೆ, ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಔಟ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. If it is extremely important, okay, international tax is important. So when the passive income is not more than 50%, it is a negative either outside India. Less than 50% assets are in India, less than 50% total number of employees are in India, then payroll expense incurred is less than 50% total. This is 4 conditions by heart ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಒಂದು ಮತ್ತೆ explanation 2A of section 9(1), significant economic presence, more than 2 crore rupees in India, more than 3 lakh number in India, constitutes significant economic presence ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನ ಥಿಯರಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ದೆನ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡೋದು. ದೆನ್ ಫೈನಲಿ ಯು ಆರ್ ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡಿಂಗ್ ವೆದರ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ನೋಡಿ ಈಚ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ವೆದರ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫೈಡ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್, ದೆನ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ವೆದರ್ ಇದೆ ರೆಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಆರ್ ನಾನ್ ರೆಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ. ಇದು ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ದೆನ್ ಇದು ನಾನು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಬಟ್ ಟು ಟೆಲ್ ಯು ಹೌ November 24 suggestions irutte. How the question ನೋಡಿ, if you look at it, it is almost looking like a income tax question. So starting ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ books of account ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇತ್ತು, ಕೇಳ್ಕೊತಾರೆ, ಇದನ್ನು ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ. So then if you look at the descriptive question, slab rates, how do you compute the total income, or the capital gain computation ಇರಬಹುದು, each ಇದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ. ರೀಸೆಂಟ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೆಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ, ನೆನಪಿದೆ ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರೂ? So with that, so we have go through everything, because who knows, some of the case studies which are there in your caps material ಅಥವಾ ಈ ತರ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ್ರು, I think your life is made. You can go through ಮಾಡಿ. We also given some ಏನಂತಾರೆ mock test question series ಹಾಕಿದೀವಿ. Enjoy the examination. So start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. R2R was the famous Wimbledon champion. Okay, and always believe in your effort. Okay, effort will always give. So one of the beautiful learning today, Charan D, intermediate alla huduga idare present batch, avನಿಗೆ 252 ಬಂದಿತ್ತು ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್. ಅವನಿಗೆ ಲಾ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಬಂತು, ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ when he saw, if any of the paper is tough ಇದ್ರೆ, ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆದು ತಾಜಾ ಖಬರ್, January 25 exam ಅಲ್ಲಿ he has got only 31 marks in law when he got the paper. 5 marks grace ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು ಆ ಪೇಪರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, 36 ಆಯ್ತು. Then when they saw his marks, it is all 70s and 80s, they made 40 and he had passed. So any paper, if it is standard, it is a common phenomenon. I told n number of times, but this is all. If the paper is tough, hold your nerve, enjoy the examination. Wow, exam is tough. Let me celebrate on that. So IBS ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಕ್ಷನ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲೋ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ
Yes, sir.
ಇದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಓಕೆ 145 ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇದು 145 to 2 o'clock you are supposed to read the question paper, 2 to do scribbling etc. First case study you can take 1 hour. Next case study you can take 1 hour. Then 45 minutes, 45 minutes. Last 15 minutes for whatever something scribble ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, whatever you know. Okay, this is what you are supposed to do it. Okay, ಖುಷಿಯಾಗಿ ಎಂಜಾಯ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಮುಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬನ್ನಿ. ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಆನ್ ಮಂಡೇ. ಯಾವಾಗ?
Monday.
Sunday.
Don't relax. Don't conclude before you complete. Your exam is on Sunday. Sunday ಗಿಂತ ಮೊದಲು ಏನು think ಬೇಡ. So you think your exam is on Monday, then Monday exam will relax. All of you clear? So go enjoy the examination, give your best shot, whatever available, because out of the first 5 papers, wherever 1 or 2 marks come with, you will set off 1 point. So all of you, I pray today is supposed to be very auspicious day, Sankat Chaturthi. Okay, so very good day. I wish and pray that each one of you writing your examination, whichever attempt, all of you pass with high marks first attempt. God bless you. I wish and pray that each one of you prefix CA to your name at the earliest and be a good, great Indian and great human being. Bye, Srinja. God bless you. Over to you, sir. SMS, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye, bye. Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good
evening,
sir.
Good evening, sir.
Am I audible properly?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good
Okay.
evening, sir.
Fine. Yeah. Good evening. We'll continue with that discussion here, right? So, sir has given you an overview of what this subject is, how we have to approach. Correct. The next 1.5 days, how we have to approach. It's been given. So we'll specifically focus on IDT and law, and then maybe glance through one of the case studies so that it will be easy for us in our preparations. Okay. So from IDT point of view, just now we have completed IDT exam and come out. So we know what is it. So it's fresh in our memory, right? So it will be easier for us if more questions from IDT is coming in the examination, because we have just gone through it. Again, what are the things that you have to focus? You may have to glance through if required. These are the points. Same discussions that we had in IDT, the same important discussions. Those are the things that they will focus on, because those are the areas which are examinable, right? Whether it is IDT or IBS doesn't matter. Right, those are the areas. Anyhow, in the case study also we will see it same whatever IDT we discuss, same things, same concepts they have questioned, right? So we have GST computation, they can ask focusing on outward supply, reverse charge, exemption, ITC, order of utilization of ITC and payment. So there could be a case study wherein they'll give you information, paragraphs containing information. MCQ questions might be calculate outward supply, in the sense outward taxable supply. Second MCQ might be with regard to calculate the RCM payable. They'll stop. They'll not ask any other MCQ related to GST. At the end, one of the descriptive question can be compute the net GST payable in cash. Right? Such questions have been there in the case study. So this is extremely important. Then you may have questions on exemption, input tax credit, all these things. So you have your IDT suggested answers, right? Just glance through the computation related questions, so that same adjustment, if it is repeated in this case study, it will be easy for you to answer, right? MTP, RTPs to get hold of such questions. Then you have important points in Schedule 1, composition levy, refund calculation, inverted duty structure, as well as unutilized ITC. Due to zero rated supply without payment of tax. Then you have EV bill, penalties, place of supply, time of supply, computation of assessable value, and customs duty, baggage rules, duty drawback. Here also customs duty becomes important. There are case studies wherein they have asked computation of assessable value and computation of customs duty. Okay, so those things also become important. Just to glance through the problems, it will be easy, right? So same simple questions will be asked, especially from GST point of view in the case studies. Supply under GST, you have supply 3 parameters, taxability of cost petroleum, these commercial papers, corporate deposits, all those discussions, Schedule 1 transaction, Schedule 2 classifications, right? Then you have Schedule 3 non-supply, specified actionable claims, composite mix supply, glance through them, charge, reverse charge mechanism. these things very, very important, high chances of it being asked. If any of these have not been asked in today's paper, okay, high chances of being asked in the case studies, because these are new amendments. Having said that, these things it's not that they'll not be asked, they may also be asked. Then you have composition levy, place of supply. Again, you have goods and services, special points on these things, right? With regard to immovable property, performance, event-based and transportation. And in relation to online money gaming, there is a separate section 14A, which you'll have to focus on. Okay, coming to exemptions, just glance through all the exemptions. Time of supply, we have forward charge, reverse charge related discussions. They can ask you, find out the time of supply. The case study that we'll refer to, they had asked time of supply question, right? Then you have value of supply, valuation. Yes, they have asked. Okay, valuation, especially referring the rules. Rule 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 31 ABC, and 32 sub rules, as well as 33, including pure agent. So all this, especially online money gaming, corporate guarantee and personal guarantee becomes very important. If not asked in your IDT exams, chances of it being asked in IBS, right? So go through that, do not miss. Then input tax credit, hot topic in IBS, right? Multiple questions have been asked with regard to input tax credit. Not only the basic conditions under section 16, they have focused on 17.5 block credits and 17.1 and 2, where you have to apply rule 42 and rule 43, right? Those questions also have been asked. 42, 43 practical questions have been asked in IBS case studies. So go through that. Then you may also have to look into those 86B and 86A related rules. Then you have registration chapter. These are just a glance through. May not be so important from IBS case studies point of view, but applicability, all those things, just glance through. Anyhow, it would be fresh in your memory. It will be easy for you to remember. Tax invoices, e-invoicing, dynamic QR code, right? They have asked dynamic QR code applicability. Simple discussions, straightforward. They'll not go too technical here, but basic discussions they will focus, especially e-way bill, right? E-way bill validity related questions they can ask. Payment of tax, here interest calculation, if there is interest calculation, yes, they have asked. There's a possibility of them asking interest calculations. So wherever you have practical questions possibility, those are the areas that they're focusing. Okay, if you look at the case studies, that's how it is. TDS, TCS, yes, chances of it being asked. Notified supplies under 9.5. So in relation to e-commerce transaction, one thing that you have to keep in mind is section 9.5 or TCS, they are mutually exclusive. If 9.5 is applicable, no TCS. If TCS is applicable, no 9.5. So which are those 9.5 supplies? If you keep in mind, in all other cases, TCS will be applicable, right? That's one point that we have to understand. Then returns related, just glance through different types of returns, imports and exports, zero rated supplies, with payment of tax, without payment of tax. Two options are available, right? If we go with the payment of tax, you'll be paying the tax. You can utilize the ITC against such payment of tax. Whatever amount you have paid, you have declared as output liability, you will get it refunded. Whereas if it is without payment of tax, you will still be allowed to avail the input tax credit. Whatever ITC that you have availed, you can claim it as refund, right? You have to claim it as refund. So that is there. That is with regard to zero rated supplies. Here we have something with regard to OIDAR services. Even though it is import of service, taxability is a little different when compared to other normal import of service. Normal import of service, always RCM. OIDAR related, if the recipient is unregistered, forward charge. If the recipient is registered, reverse charge. That's how OIDR service works. Whereas online money gaming is further different. Online money gaming, even if the service provider is outside India, yes, it is import of service, but RCM doesn't apply, always forward charge. Right? That's the differences between normal import, OIDR, and online money gaming. Okay, then refund of additional IGST. Now there is one concept that has been introduced with regard to additional IGST due to price revision. So, sir, we have already made an export. Subsequently, if there is a price revision, the value of the export increases, because of which you have to pay additional GST if you are going with payment of tax. So you would have already filed an application for refund. You would have got the refund for this value. Now, because of this additional liability, what happens to this IGST paid? Can I claim refund for the same invoice again? Law says yes, you have to file refund application in 1 year. That is the new provision that has been introduced. So that related question may be asked for 1 mark or 2 mark. Right? Refund related unutilized ITC calculation of minimum refund claim, very, very important. Then you have job work, just glance through. Assessments and audits, just glance through. Inspection, search, seizure, arrest, just glance through. Demands and recoveries, section 73 and 74. Difference, penalty that is being asked. 73 and 74, the penalties are different. So that penalty related questions can be asked as a part of MCQ. Possible. Then liability, certain cases, just glance through. You have offenses, penalties. Penalties again unfortunate, but they're asking anyhow. In IBS, it's fine to that extent because it's open book. You'll be able to refer that penalty provision and at least write it, right? Especially penalty with regard to non-compliance with regard to e-way bill, right? During conveyance in transit, right? Conveyances in transit related penalty, multiple times they have asked. So go through that. Compounding of offenses. Yes, there is one case study which talks about compounding of offenses and amount of compounding that very recently, 1.5 years back, they have notified the amounts for compounding depending on the amount of default. Right, amount of default, there is a different compounding fees that they have prescribed. That calculation they have asked in one of the case studies. So that becomes important. Appeals and revisions, just glance through, especially the pre-deposit calculations and the order in which you will have to appeal. Then you have advance ruling, focus on the areas which you cannot go for advance ruling. That it can be asked. Miscellaneous provisions, just glance through. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Customs duty, here, these provisions, section 21, goods derelict or wreck, then remission of duty, abatement of duty, and pilfered goods. That related questions have been being asked in the case studies. Types of duties, just glance through, but calculations become very important. Calculation of assessable value, calculation of BCD, calculation of IGST on assessable value plus BCD plus social welfare surcharge. That is important. Classification, just glance through, no problem. Valuation, yes. These rules, just glance through these rules. Importation, exportation, and transportation of goods, transit, transshipment. Difference between transit and transshipment, they can ask you as a part of one of the case studies. 2 marks, 3 marks, they can ask. Passenger baggage rules, important. Right, procedure for postal articles, just glance through. Deferred payment of import duty rules, go through. Then you have warehousing. Yes, different types of warehousing, very, very important. Then the other things are procedure, just glance through. Refund, yes. Refund, interest on delayed refund. Here they have asked multiple times. And refund of import duty in certain cases. These are things you can just glance through. Foreign trade policy, focus on status holders. Same thing that we discussed in IDT, right? You have export promotion schemes, duty exemption, duty remission, advance authorization schemes, right? All those things, just glance through. Just in case if there are any questions, you will be able to answer. Okay, so that's how it should be. Our focus should be. These are the amendments that was done very recently, which are applicable. In IDT, we have discussed this. Just glance through these amendments. That should be enough. Okay, then you have in relation to company law. Yes, now here IDT, at least we have read recently company law. Again, last we would have read it was SPM exams. Post that we would have ignored it, right? Maybe for exam IBS preparations you might have just glanced through, but these are the things that you have to focus. So if you have not gone through law very much, just glance through this a little more. Okay, spend some more extra time with regard to law and SCMP if you have not gone through in the recent past. But if you have prepared well, then it's absolutely fine. But these are the areas that you have to focus on. 149 subsection 1 talks about minimum number of directors. Who can be director? Only individual. Minimum number of directors for private company, public company, OPC. Number of directorship that one person can be in a company, in total number of companies. Consent for directorship. That's like an agreement. Requirement for appointment as a director. What are the prerequisites? Dean should be there. He should not be disqualified. First director subscribed as per the MOA. If not, then appointed by the company till appointed by the subscribers till they are appointed in the general meeting. Reappointment of retiring directors. 152, 6 and 7. Very, very important. Okay, very, very important. Definitely there are various case studies you can look into where questions are being asked on this. Okay, because they can ask you questions in different ways in 156 to 6 and 7. For which companies it is applicable? If it is applicable, there are minimum 2/3 should be rotational. Out of that, 1/3 should retire. Such retiring director are eligible for reappointment. If they're eligible for reappointment, what happens in the AGM? That is what 152 subsection 7 talks about. So go through all those. Appointment under 160, it's just a procedure. If procedure is followed, then it's fine. Deposit for candidature, normally it is 1 lakh. Under 160, if you want to be if you want to stand for a directorship election, 1 lakh is the pre-deposit that you have to give. However, in case of some companies, that amount is lesser. Nidhi company 10,000, etc. Then you have additional director, CV director, alternate director, and nominee director. 4 directorships under 161. Go through that. Resident directorship 149 subsection 3. 1 person should be a resident in India. 1 director. Women director, applicability and casual vacancy. When it should be filled, within what time it should be filled, right? These things is important. Appointment to be voted individually, section 162. Principles of proportional representation, 163. Disqualification, important, 164. Vacation of office. Difference between 164 and 167 is 164 is disqualification from appointment. Once you are appointed, you hold office, vacation of office. Okay, so there are 2 separate provisions given, 164, 167, lists given. Then you have resignation 168, removal 169, duties 166, SSD, small shareholder director, again, they have been asked multiple times. Glance through small shareholder director provisions, independent director qualifications. Yes, important case studies are there. Then you have independent director data bank and tenure. Those things are fine. Remuneration, liability, register of directors, members right to inspect, and general penalty. That's fine. Then you have appointment and remuneration of managerial personnel. Managing director, whole-time director, manager definition is there. Prohibition of appointment of both MD and manager at one time. In one company, it is prohibited. Tenure. Additional disqualification under 196(3), yes, important. Appointment of managerial personnel is fine. Contract is fine. Managerial remuneration, extremely important. Okay, extremely important. There are limits given: 1%, 3%, 5%, 10, 11%. You can give more remuneration beyond that. What is the procedure required? What if I'm loss-making company or inadequate profits? I have to go with Schedule 5. Additional conditions given in Part 1 of Schedule 5 have to be complied with. If I comply with, Part 2 gives me the remuneration based on effective capital. Right? All those discussions very, very important. Then you have the Schedule 5 section for all those things. In Section 4 to Schedule 5, perquisites not included in managerial remuneration. In that limit, there are some perquisites mentioned. Those are not included in that limit, meaning you can give that perquisite over and above the managerial remuneration fixed as per the schedule, right? That perquisites glance through. Then you have forms and procedures, fine. Recovery is fine. Loss of office. Normally, as a director, you are not eligible. As a managerial personnel, you will be eligible. Then appointment of KMP. Who is a KMP? When it is compulsory. That becomes important. Then you have, these are fine. Secretarial audit, applicability, just glance through. Board meetings and powers of the board. Frequency of board meeting, we know 4 meetings in a calendar year, 120 days gap. For Section 8 company, for OPC, small companies, there are separate relaxations given. Then you have length and service of board meeting, shorter notice, who can convene, place and date, participation through video conferencing. There is a rule which gives some conditions to be satisfied to ensure that video conferencing is allowed. So just glance through that condition. Then that is Rule 3, right? Rule 3 I was talking about. Quorum, important. Section 8 company, separate quorum is mentioned. That is also important. Resolution by circulation, yes. Do not miss it. Okay, there are some conditions to be satisfied to ensure that circular resolution is valid. After that, what is the date of passing such circular resolution? This is also important. Date of passing circular resolution. Then 176 is fine. 179 subsection 3 gives you list of decisions that can be taken only in the board meeting. Board meeting compulsory. Circular resolution not possible. 180, very, very important, especially 180 subsection 1, which talks about sale of undertaking, substantially or whole of the undertaking. Procedure to be satisfied there. What is an undertaking? 20% of net worth. Substantially whole is 20% of the value of the undertaking. So that you have good amount of case studies. Out of that 50 case study list itself, 4 to 5 places you find this 180, especially 180 subsection 1. So very, very important. Do not miss 180. Do not miss 175. Then contribution to charitable fund, there is a limit 5%. Beyond that, general meeting approval required. Political contribution 182, any amount you can give. Disclosure in the P&L. Donation to National Defense Fund, any amount you can give. Right? 185, 186, do not miss. Very, very important. Procedures. Just to go through the procedure. See, we have to just refer the material that is given. Caps material sufficient. Okay, 185, 186. Procedure as such. Just to go through, there is some 186 to be up. There are two procedures. If it is within the limit, there's a limit given. Within the limit, this is the procedure. Without beyond the limit, procedure changes. Similarly, in 185, there are allowed cases, prohibited cases, subject to approval cases. Right? Glance through all those things, things, which becomes very, very important. Then you have related party transactions. There are not all transactions with related parties are governed by 188. There are list of related party transactions that gets covered. So glance through that list. 184 talks about two types of disclosures that you have to make: general disclosure and specific disclosure. Right? Just go through that. Audit committee, applicability and constitution. Then you have nomination remuneration committee. The applicability is same. Stakeholders relationship committee applicability is different. 1000 stakeholders if you have to have SRC. Then you also have something called vigil mechanism. Apart from this, yes, this 192 also has been asked in case studies. Restriction on non-cash transaction involving director. You have to pass resolution, ordinary resolution, to have non-cash transactions. Else it is prohibited. Non-cash transaction with the director. All these just glance through. Okay, especially here, focus on SFIO, Special Fraud Investigation Office, section 212. Yeah, the SFIO related investigation, right, becomes important. Then compromise amalgamation. There is 10-step procedure in compromise. Focus on that. There is again same procedure given in merger. Similar to compromise, the only thing is you have to do it in two different companies. That's the only difference. What is compromise and arrangement? It is nothing but your internal reconstruction. Mergers and amalgamation, we know. Whatever procedure we follow here, you have to follow it in two different companies. That's the only difference. Procedure becomes important. Fast track merger, applicability, to whom it is applicable, small companies, etc. There are lists given. Go through that. This they had asked once. Can Indian company amalgamate with foreign company? If yes, what is the procedure? 234 says yes, it is allowed. What is the procedure? Same procedure under 232. That's all. Okay, one question was asked in one of the case studies. Then merger or amalgamation by takeover. These things just glance through. Then you have oppression and mismanagement. Who can file application for relief against this oppression? That is important. Who can file application for class action suit? That is also important. Okay, just glance through them. Winding up, circumstances where company can wound up. 271, compulsory winding up. Tribunal will order winding up of the company. Circumstances go through. Apart from that, just glance through here. Then you have here the order of utilization of payment. Order of payment to the payment of liabilities, that becomes important. Preferential creditors, overriding preferential creditors, fraudulent preference, those things becomes important. Disclaimer of onerous property, that also can be important. Right? These are the things under winding up. Miscellaneous provisions, removal of name, strike off. There are two types. One, by the company, if we have to apply STK2. By the ROC, they will issue a notice in STK1. Right? Depends. Certain cases you cannot apply for strike off. Those things are restrictions on making an application. Then you have government companies are fine. Punishment for fraud, 447. Penalty as such they can ask you. There are two types of penalties under 447. Dormant company, when you can go for a dormant company, when you have to come out of dormant status. Right? Those two discussions becomes important. Registered valuer, who can become registered valuer? Very, very important. Okay, very, very important. Then Nidhi companies, glance through the rules of Nidhi company. Okay, I suggest you to glance through because there can be case studies. NCLT is fine. You file an application with NCLT order. If you're not satisfied, go to NCLT. NCLT can also take orders are passed by NFRA as well as Competition Commission of India additionally, apart from NCLT. Then you from NCLT directly to Supreme Court. Okay, then you have special courts also. Those points are fine. Then coming to economic laws for FEMA, person resident in India. I think sir was glancing about that residential status. The case study is extremely important. Person resident in India definition. Okay, very, very important. Number of days, yes, based on last year, number of days, based on current year, for what is the purpose for which you're going out or you're coming into India. That determines your residential status. Other than resident will become resident outside India. Then you have capital account transactions, current account transactions. There are list of capital account transactions which are prohibited, which are allowed. Glance through them. In current account, you have Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Schedule 3, depending, prohibited, allowed with the approval of central government, with approval of RBI. Then there is something called LRS, Liberalized Remittances Scheme, $2.5 lakh. in a financial year for every person. Some amounts are outside the scope of LRS, meaning you can pay any amount for medical treatment, education, etc. Right? That is without limit. Right? Then you have immovable property related. If a resident, can he acquire outside India? If a non-resident, can he acquire in India related discussions? Then with regard to export of goods and service, within what time they have to realize the money? If they don't realize, what's the procedure? Then you have, apart from that, these are fine ECBs. Do not miss. ECBs, again, I am not sure why, but it's a hot topic from IBS point of view. There are multiple case studies that we can find. Then you have overseas investment, ODIs, OPIs, OIs, right? All those things, just glance through. Then you have FCRA, which becomes important, right? You have restriction on acceptance, as you cannot receive foreign contribution unless you are registered under FCRA or you get prior approval under FCRA. These two conditions are very, very important. Once you get registration, if you violate, your registration can be suspended. If it is suspended, what happens to the amount that you have collected unutilized? What happens? Right? That related discussion. They can cancel. They can surrender. You yourself can surrender. Compulsory as well in 5 years. The applicability, the validity of that certificate, you have to renew, you have to apply 6 months before the expiry. Then prohibition from receiving foreign contribution, a transfer of fund to other person, amount that you have received, you have to use it for the object itself. Some percentage you can use for administrative purpose, 20% you can use it for administrative, not beyond that. You should have a separate bank account, SBI account in Parliament branch, New Delhi. Then audit adjudications, those are fine under FCRA. Then you have IBC, Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. Here, focus on corporate insolvency resolution process. Right? That process itself will cover this entire discussion on CAR, the IBC. And at the end, you have liquidation process. In liquidation, focus on the order in which you have to pay the debts. That becomes important. Okay. Then you have SEBI. In SEBI, do not worry about SEBI Act as such. Just glance through the points given. But important is this regulations. Right? We have SEBI LODR regulation, extremely important. There are time limits given. Those time limits can be asked in the exams. Time limits in LODR regulations. And in LODR, you have board composition, board of directors composition, committee, types of committees under LODR. Then you have compliances, quarterly and yearly compliances given. Yearly compliances given. Then you have ICDR regulations. IPO related and FPO related. Eligibility is important. IPO and FPO eligibility is very, very important. Then you have disclosures are fine. SAST, substantial acquisition and takeover regulations given. Insider trading, prohibition of insider trading, penalty. Okay, just glance through those things. These are the things that we have with regard to law. Okay, the areas that we have to focus on. Okay, so with this, these are the things that we have to focus. With this, we'll just quickly look into one of the case studies. Yes, first one, I think, sir, just glance through. Second one, this is taken from November 24 question paper. Okay, November 24 question paper. We'll just quickly glance through. This is the summary of what it was given. Okay, so that it will be easy for us to discuss. See, what are the areas that they're focusing on? First, they talk about GST. Current director of HCP convened a meeting with Rahul to discuss GST related concerns. Asked to prepare an initial report on facts shared by general manager accounts. Input tax credit on machinery. So company purchased 3 machines, X, Y, and Z. X was used for only for taxable supplies, Y only for exempt supplies, and Y for both exempt and taxable, Z only for exempt supplies. Okay, so this is the price of the machinery. This is the GST amount. Value of taxable supply and exempt supply is 1,500 and 300 lakh respectively. So what are we supposed to do? How do I find out the amount that I can claim? Can I claim entire amount on machine X? Yes, correct. 9 lakh I can claim full. Machine Y, since it is used for both, it will be common credit. I can add it to electronic credit ledger full in that month. In the month in which I have acquired. Machine Z I cannot claim because it's fully exempt. So once I do this, I'll get 19 lakh 80,000 as a total ITC, but I have to reverse some amount. Correct. Reversal applies only for common credit, 10 lakh 80,000. 10 lakh 80,000, what should I do? Divided by 60. Very good. Divided by 60, if I do, I get, I should get some amount. What is that? 18,000, I think, if I'm not wrong. Then you have given the limits, the values. right, into exempt turnover divided by total turnover. Total is 1,500 plus 300. You should get 3,000 rupees. So that I am eligible to claim 19,77,000 rupees. Okay, that is how the first adjustment to be treated. Second one, sale on approval basis. Goods worth 5 lakh was sent to DEF on 1st of March 2024 under a delivery challan with 60-day approval window. Approval was given on 15/5. What is the time of supply? So we have discussed time of supply in case of goods is date of invoice, due date of issuance of invoice, whichever is earlier. What is the due date in case of time of supply, sale on approval basis? It is date of supply or
6 months.
6 months from the date of removal, correct? Yeah, 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. Here, date of supply is 15th of May. So 15th of May itself is the due date because 6 months will be somewhere in September. So 15th of May is the due date of issuance of invoice. Therefore, that is the time of supply. Then goods sent for exhibition. 1st of September 2023, 600 units were sent out of India for exhibition purpose. By 20th February, 400 units were returned, while 200 units remained unreturned as of 31st of March. No invoice was raised for the unreturned units. So here what is happening? Of 600 units and 400 units were returned within that 6-month time period. No problem. They do not constitute supply. But 200 units did not return within 31st March. It's beyond 6 months. So what happens to this 200 units? Deemed to be supply as on 1st of March 2024. 6 months from the date of removal, right? It will be deemed to be a supply. Since it is sent outside India, it will be considered to be export of goods, zero rated supply. Export of goods. Okay, then you have something related to Ind AS. They talk about provisioning for legal dispute. There are 2 cases. Okay, one case, probability of the liability of 16 lakh, probability that you may have to pay the liability is 35%. 5 lakh 65%, 2 cases. Ruling is 31st of March 2026. Now where are we? We are in 31st of March 2024. Okay, 31st of March 2024, 2 years. Risk-free rate is 6%, but management want to take 7% as the appropriate discount rate. So what is the amount of provision that they have to make? 16 lakh into 35%. We have to calculate. It will come to 5.6 lakh. And 5 lakh into 65%, 3 lakh 25,000, 8 lakh 85,000 we get. But we should not stop at this point. In the MCQs, I'll show you 8,85,000 is also one of the options. But in Ind AS, we should always look at the present value, fair value of it, correct? So we have to apply the fair value principle at 7% for 2 years. 7% for 2 years. So 8,85,000 divided by 1.07 square. If I do, we get 7,72,900 something. Okay, that is the value of provision that we have to recognize. That is what it says. Similarly, you got concessional government loan. Market rate of loan is 10%, but you have got it at 6%, 4% concession. We should recognize it as government grant. That is what the Ind AS 20 tells us, right? You have to recognize. Para 10A talks about that. So how do I recognize it as government grant? What is the amount that you will be paying? 75 lakh into 6%. You will be paying 4,50,000 as interest every year. So for 4,50,000 for 5 years, at 10%, what would be the present value? If you apply and calculate the present value, you get something 17 lakh 5,000 is what we get. Present value formula if you apply. Similarly, 75 lakh you have to repay at the end of 5 years. At the end of 5 years, you have to repay 75 lakhs. So what is its present value now? 75 lakh divided by 1.1 to the power of 5. If I do, I'll get 46 lakh 56,000 something. So if I add both, the present value of the loan is 63 lakh 62,764. So they should have given me a loan of 63 lakh only, but they have given me a loan of 75 lakh, meaning this 11 lakh 37,000, whatever is there, that is the benefit that they are giving me in the form of concession. That is the government grant to be recognized in P&L. Okay, that is what Ind AS 20 related discussion talks about. Then we have FCRA. So their registration is suspended. They have 66 lakhs in their bank account. What are the things that they have to do? What they can do? See, out of 66 lakh, 25% they can spend, but with the approval of government. Okay, 25 lakh they can spend only with the approval of government. Subject, the government can give some terms and conditions also. Balance amount they can utilize only after suspension is revoked. Further, can they receive foreign contribution? The answer is no. They cannot receive further foreign contribution unless there is government approval. Government approval is required. Those are the two consequences. We'll look at the question and we'll understand. Then you have audit observations. There are two things. Doubtful receivable. There is a profit so and so. Trade receivable 120 is not recoverable, but still they have not written off. What you will do as an auditor, what you should do, it is material and pervasive. So you have to give an adverse opinion. Right? 120 lakh out of 120 lakh is the write-off. Profit comes down by 120 lakh out of 250 lakh. So it is definitely material and pervasive. Then inventory verification, that inventory forms 30% of the total asset, but they do not maintain any inventory records, no physical verification done. So as an auditor, what you will do, 30% means definitely it is material. Correct, but you do not have any sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Since it is material and pervasive and no sufficient appropriate audit evidence, you have to issue a disclaimer of opinion. And in relation to inventory, there is one more point in the form of CARO. In CARO, they say whether physical verification in inventory is done periodically. There you have to qualify the point. Okay, in CARO, these are the things as an auditor we are supposed to do. Then direct tax related, a beautiful question. He is a non-resident. Okay, for that financial year, there are shares given. X Limited, this is LTCG. Y Limited, this is STCG. 1st of August 23 to 28 February. GDRs given. So there are some information also. He paid US dollars and purchased the share. So when he paid US dollars and purchased, at the time of capital gain, we will find out them in USD. Capital gain will be calculated in USD and then converted into INR. Right? That's how we are supposed to do. Then you have GDRs of Z Limited was sold to Mr. Sanjay, non-resident. So GDRs, if it is sold to non-resident, then it is not taxable in India. That is what the provision tells. Then STT is paid at the time of transfer. Since STT is paid for X Limited and Y Limited shares, 112A, 111A will be applicable. STT paid shares. Right? Exchange rates are also given for conversion. And they have given other income details. Since he is a non-resident, NRA account interest is exempt. Interest on debentures, it is taxable. Right? Then you have shop purchased for 60 lakh, but the stamp duty value is 65 lakh. It is within the limit of 10%. No gift income. Gift of plot from wife's cousin. Wife's cousin is not a relative. Since it's a gift received without consideration, fully taxable. Right? It's a gift taxable under 56(2)(10). Similarly, we purchased 1,000 shares of a company. It's a public company. 125 rupees we paid, but fair market value is 210 rupees. The balance 85 rupees per share into 1,000, which is 85,000. Beyond 50,000 is also gift income. Right? These are the information given. We have to answer various questions. This is that lawsuit provision. Right? The 7,72,000, that whatever answer we got. Then you have amount of government grant 11,37,000. With regard to what is the time of supply, date of issuance of invoice in case of goods sent on sale on approval, 15th of May. With regard to FCRA, look at this question. What is the requirement? Which of the following statements are incorrect? Okay, which of the following statements are incorrect? They shall not receive foreign contribution during the suspension, and they can spend up to 16,50,000, that is 25% with prior approval of central government. 1 and 4 are correct answers. 2 and 3 are incorrect. So our option should be 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are incorrect. So 2 and 3 is the correct answer because they're asking which is incorrect. What is the amount of income from other sources? We'll just see the answer. You will get it. 5,08,000 is the answer there. How CS Sandeep Jain should deal with issues with regard to audit report. Those 2 points we discussed: inventory and write-off of receivable. Compute taxable income and tax liability for assessment year 24-25. I'll just glance through the answer given there. Right? He did not go out of default regime. Then that ITC that they have claimed for purchase of machinery. Then with regard to goods sent out of India for exhibition, when is the supplies of goods set to take place? Supply takes place with date of supply or 6 months from the date of removal. Invoice is required to be issued for goods not brought back, not required because they have been brought back within 6 months. Whether refund can be preferred in respect of goods sent outside India, not brought back. Yes. So for goods sent outside India, not brought back beyond 6 months, it is supply. Since it is outside India, zero rated supply, you can claim refund of unutilized ITC. Right? Those points we are supposed to write. They have also given you tax slabs to be applicable, to be applied for calculation purposes. Right? So if we want, we can just glance through the computation. Yes. So long-term capital gain. This is X Limited Indian shares. Right? X Limited. Y even though they have purchased it in foreign currency, why are we not converting into USD? Because we are calculating tax under 115 BSc. 115 BSc says 100, and for the purposes of calculation of 112, you cannot convert it into foreign currency. Under 115, if you are computing under 115 BSc, and indexation benefit obviously will not be available for 112A, correct? So this is the sale consideration, this is the expenditure on transfer given in the question only. Net sale consideration, this is the cost as it is. Whatever is given in INR take, you'll get LTCG. This is taxed at what rate? The purchase date is before July 23rd, so it is taxed at 10% in excess of 1 lakh. 10% in excess of 1 lakh. Similarly, short-term capital gain under 111A, that restriction is not there. So 65 lakh is the cost. I have to convert it into USD. How do I convert, sale value? I have to convert it into USD. How do I convert it into USD? Average of TT buying rate and TT selling rate as on the date of transfer. Both rates are given in the question. TT buying, TT selling, average if you take, you convert it into USD. Similarly, expenditure on transfer, sale, expenses on sale, amount divided by same rate, you'll get it ISD, you'll get net sale consideration, cost, average of TT buying and TT selling as on the date of purchase, not as on the date of sale. So as on the date of purchase, whatever TT buying, TT selling average, you'll get the cost. This is the capital gain. Once this capital gain is there, how will I convert capital gain into INR? You convert it using TT buying rate only, no average here. For conversion into INR, no averaging. TT buying rate as on the date of transfer should be applied. You will get STCG. This is taxed at 15% because it is before 23rd July. Okay. Then capital gains on GDR of Z Limited, since it is transferred by one non-resident to another non-resident, it is not a transfer. That is what 47 says. Then another GD of A Limited, since it was given to a resident only, it is a transfer. Whatever amount is there, expenditure on transfer, net sale consideration, cost of acquisition. This is long-term capital gain for GDRs. Obviously, no indexation benefit applicable. Why no indexation benefit? GDRs are taxed under which section for a non-resident? Which section? GDR. Which section? GDRs are taxed for a non-resident. Non-resident, when he sells GDR, there's a separate section for which, under which it is taxed 115A, right? That is the 115 AC GDRs, separate section given. In that, at that particular, there it says directly LTCG should be taxed at 10% before 23rd July, after that 12.5%, but no indexation benefit given. Then that IFOS, gift from wife's cousin, then that market share, then debenture amount. Now here with regard to debenture, they have given one specific information, subscribed in foreign currency. What is the impact? There is again one more section for, since this is non-resident, all those special provisions apply. 115A under Income Tax Act talks about loans given by an Indian concern which was taken in foreign currency, that interest will be taxable under 115A at the rate of 10%. Sorry, 20%. 115A at the rate of 20%. So flat rate of 20% should be applicable, not slab rates. Okay, you will get GTA. From GTA, exclude all your special incomes. The only normal income that gets here is those two gift incomes. Those are the two normal incomes which gets. So 3,33,000 at slab rate, 33,000 into 5%, 1650. All these at specific rates, you'll get tax surcharge applicable because more than 50 lakh total income. Cess apply, you will get the tax liability. Okay, beautiful provision. Because it is a non-resident, all those special provisions of non-resident becomes applicable. Okay, so that is one case study. So these are the things that are there. So what are we supposed to do in the next 1.5 days? First, have a clarity on which are the books that you are carrying, as minimum books as possible. Okay, that is extremely important. You cannot go and search which book, no doubt you have 4 hours. Sir told the time limits, right? One case study, first 2 case studies, 1 hour each, then 45 minutes, 45 minutes. Trust me, it might not be it might not be possible to complete it within 1 hour also. Okay, it's difficult if we are referring each and every book and answering. It's definitely difficult. So carry minimum number of books as possible. Those books should be like I say it's like your safe deposit. Okay, it's like a confidence booster. That's all. Okay, I have some books with me, right? You should be in a position to answer those questions without referring those books. However, why you have to carry those books? So that in some cases you may have to copy paste some things from the material directly. Those are the cases where you'll be referring those books. Okay, so for that purposes, as many less books as possible, and important is the page numbers index in the books. Extremely important. Okay, you can even paste post-its for each chapter in that book. Separate post-its, you might write the chapter headings in that post-it so that you can easily go through that. Okay, you can spend 45 minutes, 1 hour today or tomorrow. It's definitely worth it. Makes your life simpler on the day of the examination. Okay, that is important. Second, with regard to MCQs, how to answer, again, case study related. Your case studies runs through pages. You would have gone through the case studies, right? It's not worth reading the entire case study. Okay, definitely it's not worth. What I suggest is just read between the lines to know what are the areas that they're focusing on. Okay, if that is also not possible, directly go to the question. That is also fine. Go to the question, read the question, come back, identify which part of the case study talks about that particular point. Then compulsorily read that part of the case study full. Without reading the part of the case study full, you cannot answer. You are not answering because there might be some information which are hidden, right? So unless you read the entire paragraph of that case study, you will not be able to answer such questions. So read the paragraph carefully and then come back and answer. Some cases, without reading the case study also, you'll be able to answer some MCQ questions. It is possible. Okay, they might ask you concept based itself directly. So such cases, you may directly answer without reading the case studies also. Okay, that's how. And descriptive part, if it is problem that they have given calculations based, compulsorily give workings, notes, wherever assumptions, whatever you have taken, complete. Whatever you are doing in the other paper, same thing. If it is a concept based question asked, write in pointers, right? Preferably if it's law related, bring it in the same points that we were discussed, provisions of the law, facts of the case, your analysis and conclusion in the same order, preferably, so that you'll be able to score well. Okay, definitely this particular paper is high scoring because it has 40 marks of MCQs. Right, 40 marks of MCQs. So definitely we should be able, and no negative marking also, right? So definitely we should be able to score 20 MCQs, 40 marks. We should be able to score. Do not miss any of those MCQs. Okay, even if you do not know the answer, it's fine. You should answer such MCQs and come 40 marks. We should be able to score at least 30 marks there. Then your job is simple, right? It's definitely high scoring. Do not miss scoring in this paper. You have to just give your best. Okay, just give your best those 4 hours. Whatever you have put in the efforts for so many last 2 years, 2.5 years, depending on your preparations. It's just a summary. This paper just summarizes whatever you have discussed, whatever you have prepared, whatever efforts that you have put. So do not waste those efforts that you have put. Okay, just give your best. Just go to the examination. Have a clear-cut approach. Do not go to the examination confused. That's the only thing in this paper. Okay, because there are multiple things to read, you might get confused. You might not have a clarity. Don't do that. You have already read everything. So just glance through whatever is required to be and be clear with the books, materials that you are carrying, and glance through all the case studies. That is very, very important. All the case studies released by the institute, including RTPs, MTPs. There are chances that they lift the case study directly, lift the case study. So in such cases, easily that particular 25 marks you can maximize. Okay, that's the reason. Glance through all the case studies also. Okay, that's it. Okay, these are the things that I wanted to discuss. I wanted to share. If anyone has anything specific related to the preparations, you may ask, else we'll conclude. I'll not waste our time. Nothing? All clear?
Sir.
Yes. Okay, fine then. So once again, I'd like to wish everyone all the very best. Okay, definitely each one of you will come out of this examination in flying colors. We'll definitely meet in the pass out meets. Okay, all the best once again. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.